Hello and welcome to the podcast. This is the first and likely only podcast that is heavy into metal and trombones. I am your host, Aaron Wilson. I am a professional trombonist, those exist, and a professor of music. Joining me for this and every podcast is my amazing, awesome, dear brother, Brian Wilson. He is a longtime heavy metal bassist who now lives in Juneau, Alaska. Together, we are the brothers in horns.
So, what'd you think?
You know, it can get hot. It can get too hot sometimes.
I guess can't handle the heat. I thought this was the best one that you've done.
That's good. It's good improvement.
Because of the edit that I made.
The amazing brother.
I'm just gonna keep that in there. And maybe expand on it.
I was reading that. I'm like, I don't remember putting amazing in there.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of offended that you didn't put it in there to begin with.
You can't have everything. You can't have some things.
Yes, I can. This is my podcast. My podcast paid by your grant.
So how you been, man?
Oh, boy, I've been busy. I have been looking forward to this episode.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, we're done with all the ridiculous holidays. You know, I like the holidays. I like the 3-day weekends. They're good. But man, do you just kind of get to you got to get back in the rhythm of things. You feel like you just can't get anything done because you're lost on vacation.
Oh my
That's
God.
what it felt like. And not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I'm just ready. I'm ready to get back in the swing of it, man. I got to start practicing and stuff.
Yeah, hell yeah, you do, man. You got to practice.
I haven't touched my bass in months.
I get it, man. With the coming back from sabbatical, it felt like I was working a lot of times. I was practicing and doing all the stuff, but coming back to a full-time teaching load. Oh man.
So in Canada, does everyone get sabbatical? Is that a thing? Everybody just kind of gets time off?
No, but in a university level, you can apply for it. And I could have applied for a full year. I did a half year, and it was glorious. It was wonderful. I loved every bit of my sabbatical. Coming back, I've missed teaching. I've missed being with my students, but that grind is something else. I just wasn't used to it because I was sleeping in until 9:30, 10 o'clock every day during the sabbatical.
Sounds like a grind.
Well, yeah. During the sabbatical, it wasn't a grind, but when I come back to school, I'm having to wake up early and do all that. But that's first world white man problem, so I can't really complain all that much.
Very true. Very true. I mean, I'm happy you got the time off. Slightly bitter about it. But okay. We're back. We're back, baby. Gosh, I went back. I was listening to some Dio. It's been a little while. And man, if I'm just why haven't I listened to this every week for the last 20 years? Dio is incredible.
Incredible.
Yes.
I've been perused into best vocalists of all time.
Yes.
But if a list is published that does not include him.
Oh yeah, any genre.
Any genre.
Yes.
That dude was incredible.
Absolutely.
Incredible. And I just listened to him and I'm just floored by, there's some musicians that you listen to and you just know they are just a tremendous musician.
Oh yeah.
In terms of their ability to understand music in time and just feel it and everything.
Oh yeah.
He had the most incredible time that of any vocalist I've ever heard. He could just be right on the front edge, just spitting out lyrics on one moment and then just pulling it back, pulling the time feel back in the next moment in any any of the iterations, Rainbow, Black Sabbath, his solo stuff, he was just so incredible.
Music savant. You know, and did you know that Dio is a fellow brother in horn?
Oh, he was the one who popularized it, wasn't it?
Well, you know, I'm not talking. Well, I guess in two ways. Then the metal horns, right? Like he was like the one that got that to the big level of like being synonymous with metal. But a brother in horn, as in he was a very, very accomplished trumpet player.
Are you serious?
And
I did not know that.
True story. He turned down a scholarship to Juilliard because he was worried. Well, one, he wanted to do the metal thing, and he also didn't want to, like, this is such a front man, didn't want to join like a symphony because he thought he would lose his like individuality.
Oh, I mean, he's not wrong there.
Yeah, and so then he just obviously then became a lead singer and one of the most accomplished ever. I mean, but very cool, very on point for brothers and horns.
I did not. That's amazing.
Yes, absolutely.
And it really explains a lot about like his approach to music and like his aggressiveness with how he sings.
He's kind of like a trumpet.
Oh yeah, totally.
You know? Like yeah, for sure.
And I always, you know, trombone players and trumpet players, they don't always get along and everything. But I understand why trumpet players are the way they are because they have to be that way. They have to be a little bit narcissistic.
It's their role.
It is because like they're the one that if they cack a lick, you know, I can get away with it on the trombone a little bit. But if people aren't like focusing in on your instrument, is that right? I'm not always playing the melody either. Like trumpets are playing the melody all the time, and they're high, so it's like you can really hear it very easily. Yeah, I still don't think they're a good hang most of the time. Like I don't
yeah, sure.
But like I understand why they are the way that they are.
Would you say trumpets are like the lead guitar?
Oh hell yeah.
The band. Okay.
They're like vocalists too.
I don't like them then. At all.
I've been part of many an ensemble. And if there's a troublesome person in that ensemble, you can bet it's the trumpet player.
Yeah.
This person that's causing personnel issues, it's the trumpet player.
Oh man. I'm not surprised by it. I'm not surprised by it. Who would you say in a band is like the vocalist? Is that also like the trumpet? Are they the combination?
It's
be either like saxophone, alto sax.
Saxophone, like if you're talking about a concert band and you're talking about like, I would say like, yeah, saxophone's probably like the lead guitar. Maybe, I don't know. In a concert band, it's hard to say. In a jazz band, sure. Yeah, saxophone's like the lead guitar. Vocalist, yeah, I would say is probably the trumpet player more so than anything. Because the vocalists are like, look at me, look at me, look at me all the time, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I would say probably the trumpet player in that situation. They're difficult.
I don't like either of them.
They're difficult. but they have to be that way in some senses. But Dio, let's get back to him. Like,
I never saw Dio. I wish I could have.
Oh, man, that would have been a great show, I'm sure.
Dio died in 2010. Stomach cancer. Like, yeah, way too early. Way too early. You know, I did see Jack Black, though. And I guess that's about as close as you can get to Dio.
Oh, he really modeled his vocals after him, for sure.
100%. Yeah. Big fan, covered songs, even covered what we're talking about today, The Last in Line.
Oh, I never knew that. I'd have to check that out.
So I feel at least a little bit like, okay, I've seen Tenacious D. So they embody the Dio spirit, but it would have been great to see Dio in any of his previous iterations, like either the solo band or when he was with Sabbath. Well, I would guess I would be way too young to see him when he was with Sabbath, but
young, or not born yet, perhaps.
Right,
or barely born.
Well, yeah, I guess I wasn't. It was I think it was 1979 when he took over for Ozzy, and and like did like 3 albums or something. Then like him and Tony Iommi had like a falling out, but then they like reconciliated in the 90s or something. So it must have been pretty bad.
That was such a weird transition. Like, because I was, I think before we settled on this particular song, I was listening to a lot of like, I wanted to hear that transition from Ozzy to Dio. So I listened to like Never Say Die, the last Ozzy album, which is very strange. That's a very strange, but I enjoy it. I enjoy it too. It's like very experimental. And like it felt like 70s prog rock more than heavy metal. And then listening to their album like 1 or 2 years later, what's it called? Heaven and Hell.
Yeah. Heaven and what?
It's like does Dio's vocals transform that ensemble? Does it change?
If you're gonna switch vocalists and you're a very famous band, you have 2 options. You can either do what AC/DC did and find a carbon copy, essentially.
Oh, right? Brian.
They're carbon copy.
Oh,
man,
no way, man. Bon Scott was so different than Brian Johnson.
I don't know.
Oh, come on, man.
They sound exactly the same.
Oh, you're going to have some words with my wife.
Yeah. And then like, or you could do like, you got to go complete opposite. Like Maiden went complete opposite. When Bruce Dickinson left, they got Blaze in there. It's like, he's like a bass singer, like, like can't hit any of the high notes at all. Yeah. I think that's what they were doing here. And like, but they kept like sort of the Prince of Darkness feel. Like Dio and Ozzy are both like embracing the demons.
Of course. The occult.
But just wildly different vocalists. Holy moly.
Oh, and I just feel like that transformation from Never Say Die to Heaven and Hell, it's like, okay, now the 80s are here in terms of metal. Like it sounds so much of that time. It's like it's iconically that time.
Yeah, I think part of it was the timing, and like Black Sabbath when they started, like they were going to be a blues band. Like that's what they wanted to be, and they just kind of had their own brand of it, and then it got deemed heavy metal, but then like the new wave of British heavy metal came out, and it was like, here's our tool, here's our new engine to like jump on that fad, But Heaven and Hell is a great album.
Definitely.
I love it.
Oh yeah.
There's this live video that Tim and I used to watch all the time of that era with like, Dio singing, and I remember the song Heaven and Hell, and there's just the 10 seconds that stands out to me is the slow motion of like Dio walking, holding the mic stand like horizontal slowly towards the stage, and he's all of 4'2" or something, but just commanding Sabbath, like embracing the lead role of it, which was awesome. Anyways,
every time I see Dio, especially if I see him singing, like I'm thinking, what's the song that he's on top of the roof for the music video, and this like got the guy who's like the pervert walking the street, and this Dio's just hanging out on this roof the entire time. I think it might be Rainbow in the Dark.
I haven't watched a Dio video in so long, which is a shame because his videos are incredible.
they're so,
like low budget, like medieval craziness stuff that happens.
But there's this, he's just like in this video, he's just like pointing up at the sky, and he's got this like snarl on. And every time I see that, like, you remember the A Christmas Story, that movie? Like the little kid that is accompanying the bully?
Yes, yeah.
It's like
the ugly one.
Yeah. It's like, that must be Ronnie James Dio when he was like a little kid. Like he looks exactly the
same. So yeah, if you've never seen Dio, just watch one of his videos and you'll get it right off the jump.
So good.
He's committed to the image, and he really is that way. You'd think that it's just like a gimmick or something, but he's just like, he's wild like that. So anyways,
The Last in Line.
which is also the name of the album.
Yes, it is.
Came out in 1984. Now, this was a little controversial. Like, you wanted to do Last in Line, and I'm fine with it, obviously, because it's a great song. But my favorite album came before Last in Line.
What, Holy Diver?
Holy Diver.
Oh, I mean, that's a great album, too. They're both good.
It's like Vivian Campbell and Dio premiering. It's their debut album. And it's so crunchy. And like, you can tell it's like lower budget, like just like really raw tone. You could just tell they were like in a garage studio with like their Marshall stacks cranked and they were just like recording it. It's just so clean. Last in Line, which is also a fantastic album. It's the first Dio album that ever went platinum. Came out in 1984. They actually recorded this album in the same place that Elton John recorded Caribou. Like same exact studio. So you just imagine like going from this like super crunchy, low budget like shredder of an album to like also a shredder of an album, but like highest like quality at the time. It's just this cool juxtaposition to listen to. And yeah, I recommend listening to like Holy Diver first, then this. So.
Oh, they're both good. And I've had lots of time.
But why Last in Line? Why Last in Line?
Okay, so this has a personal story tied to that involves you, actually.
Okay.
When I was visiting you for the first time out in Indiana,
yeah,
you picked me up from the airport, and this was in Indianapolis. We were going to drive to Bloomington, but we decided to drive around the town a little bit first.
Yeah.
And I think it must have been like a Dio mix CD or something, or greatest hits or something. But you were blasting this, and I could tell you were super excited that I was there. And like this was just at for the listeners here, Brian and I in our childhood did not get along. Like
no.
It was not a good relationship, and I feel very bad for our mom and our dad, obviously, who had to deal with the fallout from that. But
you shouldn't really feel bad. I think it was mainly my fault. So because I was just this annoying older brother that just I don't know, just the worst kind of.
Well, I didn't react very well to it either. Like I was like screaming and like, ah! It's like I was so upset. But like it was like we started to get along a little bit better in high school, and then like when you went off to Wazoo and we're studying there, we didn't see each other very often. But when we did, it was much better. And I was thinking about applying. Like you'd gone off to Indiana to do your master's in communications, and you must have been 2 years into it, like the second year, maybe the first year that, like I know you did the doctorate for a little while. It's like the first time visiting you because I was thinking about applying for Indiana. We had a great time through the whole thing, but this beginning really, really stuck with me because we were listening. You had Dio cranked, man. It was cranked in this car, and you were singing along. And like the Last in Line came up, that very first lyric comes up after it like starts like really cranking. It's like, what was it? What's the first lyric about the witch? I can't
we
remember.
rock to the witch,
and you were
never come home.
You were so excited about this lyric, and you weren't singing it to me or to yourself. You were singing it at me, like it was like just like you were driving, you had one hand on the wheel, and you had like the hand pumping along with this, and it's just like, oh my God, he loves this guy. He loves this music.
I mean, how could you not? This is such an epic song. It's very similar to the song "Don't Talk to Strangers" too. So like, from the first album, it starts slow, very melodic, and then there's just this part that just like is when it all kicks in, and it's just it's so perfect.
But like that really stuck with me, and then I didn't get into Dio until later in life, but like I remember when I started listening to him, like, oh, I remember this is one of Brian's favorites.
Did you not know who it was or something at the time? And then
not
when it
really.
Came on at some later point, you were just like, "That's the song."
Well, it's like I recognized the vocals eventually because I think the first Dio song that I really started to like was Holy Diver.
Yeah.
And then Rainbow in the Dark.
Yeah.
And so I gotta listen to more of this stuff. And I remember, the only thing I remembered from that experience was witch. Like I knew it was about a witch. Like that lyric for that one. So I'm like, I'm going to come across this eventually. And then it came up like, oh, this is a song.
Now, don't you karaoke, Dio?
Oh yeah, sometimes.
Is that one of your songs? That's crazy. I can't do it at all.
I'm not saying that I can do it. I just
no, you got a good voice though. I mean, for Wilson.
I've done Holy Diver. I've done Rainbow in the Dark. I'm going to plan to do some of the other ones once we start up karaoke here this next.
Guess what? You're going to sing this one too.
I'm going to try it.
Play trombone.
I'm going to try it. But
I didn't even think about that, of you alternating in between. Would you get completely gassed if you had to sing and then pick up a trombone and go?
It depends. I wouldn't want to do it for Mr. Crowley because when we get to that solo, I got to be ready. Yes. But we'll get to that later. But no, I would totally sing one of these songs. That might be a possibility. I'm not looking to be the star of the show in that way. I'm just trying to get the trombone in there. But
no, I think maybe at least just hitting a chorus at some point.
Oh hell yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll do that. But kind of going back to your point about the Dio slow intros.
Yeah,
I love these because it's he could do some of the other metal singers and release the monster ballad or whatever. But he don't got time for that. He's just going to give you 30 seconds of it tops and then get back rocking,
castle ballads.
But it's so good. And he could sing softly. He can sing he's got a nice voice otherwise.
I think he dabbled in opera a little bit.
I'd be very interested to hear him.
Yeah, because he's very operatic, singing. But with a rasp.
Oh yeah,
so unique. Not a cheesy rasp that he's putting on. It's part of his voice. I don't know.
And I don't know how he did it. How he kept that up and didn't destroy his vocal cords. It's just unique.
And he sang all the way to the end, all the way, later in his years, and just it never slowed down. Never slowed down. I love it.
Yeah, but this is a fantastic song, and I don't know if this would be the one that we do on the show or not, or if we do it.
I would be good with it. I think there's some interesting things in this song that you could riff off of. I think incorporating the trombone into what the keys are doing, right when it comes in, when dun 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 dun.
Oh hell yeah! Definitely.
I think that would be so cool interplay between the guitars to the trombone, being that backing. You wouldn't be just the keyboards the whole time, but in that part, I think that'd be a great composition for it.
Oh man, that'd be just. We'll have to figure it out. I thought about, we could do a very 20-minute jazz odyssey from Spinal Tap and do the intro to Holy Diver, where I make it all with trombone sounds. That's
yes.
So that would be possible to do that. But I would like to do some Dio on this concert because Dio's so good.
Yeah, no, we're gonna do Dio. 100%, we're gonna do Dio. And it would be pretty easy to do too, because it's actually for bass, it's super easy parts. I kind of like this idea because I can totally phone it in for a song.
Yeah, what is this? Da 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 da.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, long enough breaks where I can take a sip of beer on stage or something.
Very good.
Yeah.
We need that.
But this actually brings up a point, and I'm gonna jump forward a little bit. I sent you a text. It feels like a month and a half ago or something.
Oh yeah. Talking about the different approach to what we're doing here.
I believe my text was, "We've been thinking about this all wrong."
Well, enlighten me.
And
I've been like that was like a month and a half ago, and I've just been curious about it ever since. So tell me about it.
Yes. So, okay. Like, think of this backwards, right? Like, if you had a shredding metal guitarist that you wanted to incorporate into one of your symphonies, right? Or one of your orchestras that you have, or whatever you call what you have at your school. Band thing.
Sure.
Would you be like, hey, shredding heavy metal guitarist, you should play the clarinet part?
I see where you're going with this.
Would you say, hey, you should play the trombone part? Like, no, that would be a huge waste. It would be a missed opportunity because that guitarist can do things that all the other instruments can't. And so you'd probably write in a part for that player.
Or it'd say like, these are the changes, play a solo over it, something like, yeah, I get you.
You'd write a new part. Like, and if like you could transport back in time to like 1984 when Dio and Vivian Campbell are writing all these songs, would they be like, and you were like magically in the band, would they just be like, oh, well, you're just going to play with the rhythm guitar plays? No, they'd be like, you're a trombonist. Like it brings a special skill set. It brings a special sound. You know, each player is different as well. So you bring your own personality. Yet this whole time we've been saying like, well, you should play like the guitar part here and you should play this part. I think that we can compose.
I think you're right, man.
Into the songs.
I think there's moments that I do want to play guitar, like the Mr. Crowley thing.
Yes.
What hell, man? I put a lot of work into that already. So like, I'm definitely gonna want to do that. But like, I was thinking this, especially for like if we do Moonchild, if we do some of these other ones, it makes more sense for me to have kind of like my own trombone part or take a solo on it like a guitar player, but have my own kind of trombone version.
How could a trombone enhance the music?
Agreed.
Yes, I think that we just have not, for one reason or another, like considered that. Like it's always been like, where are you going to fit into the existing format? So I think that as we go forward with this and you're rehearsing, you should be writing like alternative parts to it as well. And then when it comes down to the 20 minutes of rehearsal we're going to have before the show, like we'll figure it out, you know? Like,
I think you're right on that, man. I think we figure out the moments that I am going to cover a specific thing, but the rest of it, and I think I'll enjoy that more, just like kind of jamming along with the tunes and figuring out what I want to do.
Yeah, like, and it doesn't all have to be in the forefront either, because like your parts, trombone is not always in the forefront.
Most of the time it is not.
Yeah, and so like how is a trombone used in a symphony or an orchestra or a brass band or whatever, and how do you apply that to this genre?
I do want to keep pushing myself with pedals and with different kind of sound possibilities, because I don't want to play it like a classical trombonist or a jazz trombonist for that matter, or anything like that. I want to play it. I want to fit in the style of what we're doing.
And I think that's how, if in this weird fricked up world that we're creating here of like a trombone in a heavy metal band, like if that were the norm back in the day, I think that's how people would have written it. Like it would have been
for sure.
Like what is it? Like what, like it wouldn't have been any of those things. It would be very unique to this genre. But like that way, like you can come in and out of existing parts. You can throw down cool solos, but then like fade back and bring in like stacked chords, or like, harmonize with a guitar or something, even though that part normally doesn't have a harmony or something like that. Or like we could do a cool like bass, like trombone, like kind of back and forth on the bass line. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of opportunity, man. And we could experiment a variety of ways to do it.
I think that will come together better, to be quite honest.
Yes.
Because then we're not asking people to do things that they're not used to, except for me, which I'm doing this, but I'm fine with that.
I'm pretty sure nobody's done this before.
Apparently there is, I'm trying to remember the name. There was a heavy metal group led by a trumpet player I can't remember the name. I'm gonna have to pull it up. I'll put it in the show notes. Brendan
Whatever
was
their
telling
name
me
is, they are the enemy.
that. I don't think they're playing anymore. So time killed our enemy there.
They just probably weren't good enough.
Possible. I don't know. We're gonna get a lot of backlash from this, whatever this band is. Gonna come out of the woodworks for this. No, I think you're right, and I think I'm going to start exploring it that way and figure out where I want to be closer to the music and where I want to add my own kind of thing. Which is kind of like leads pretty well into my question of the day for you. It's like you've been part of a few bands over your time. How can you tell us? Like, can you describe like how your band's developed your own unique sound? Like, tell us about like the vibe of the early rehearsals and like how you saw that group, whatever group you want to think of, like develop into a finished product.
Sure. I think that's a great question. I think it starts similar to like what this conversation is, and the conversations we've had, which is like just sharing and shooting it over like songs that everyone likes, right? Like you never like go into a band situation like I wonder if we're going to be a classic rock band, or I wonder if we're going to be a country band. Like no, you got an idea. Like I want to do heavy metal in the style of like old school, like throw it back, or some people may want to do like, you know, alternative music or something like that, and they're all influenced by the same band. So it always starts with like a short list of bands, because that's the number one question you'll get is like, well, what do you guys sound like? And you're like, oh, you know, we draw a lot of inspiration from Maiden, Ozzy, you know, that kind of stuff. No, like, okay, I'm gonna go to that show. And then it's like personality and play type. Like thinking back to the bands I was around from like day one forming, like there's probably more talking than there is playing, you know, where you'll like play a couple licks and you just be like, I really want us to be like lots of licks that are just heavy, or like driving gallop bass. Like let's write a song that's like driving gallop bass that we've never done before in a previous band or something like that. And maybe that's going to have like, you know, 2 guitar solos in it and a big old part similar to this song or whatnot. And then you just kind of go from there. And it's challenging because when you start, usually you don't have like, oh, we're going to work on this one song. You're working on like 15 different licks that may become songs. And then like those start to turn into things like this one's called song number 1. Okay, let's try song number 2. You don't know really what to rehearse at the beginning. And then it just starts to come together and you package like one complete one. You're like, yeah, we got a song. That's awesome. And then there's some that are just lost to time, you know, just never found it again. And the identity brews the more you rehearse, like, and the more songs you get, you start to learn tricks and you start to learn licks and you start to learn like, oh man, Brian likes to do these types of fills, like these blues fill. I wonder if I could write a blues lick that plays off of it or something. And that's just how it forms.
Yeah, it sounds very similar to like with me putting this trombone modular synthesizer duo together. It's like, I think back to
Wire and Bone.
Wire and Bone, that's the one. Wire and Bone on YouTube. Check us out. I think back to like the early days of putting that together, and it's like, man, we did a lot of soul searching and figuring out what that sound was. And we certainly went down a lot of avenues that didn't work, and we kind of figured out, well, we can't structure it too much in this way. We can't try to be too much, just because like the modular synthesizer is a box of chaos in some ways. Like it's hard to control what it does, because so much of it is built on like randomly generated things.
What is a modular synthesizer?
So it's like think of like a box, or think about like a big pedal setup, like for a guitar player.
Yeah.
But then like each pedal is way more intricate than like any guitar pedal that you ever used. And you can connect these pedals in different ways using actual wires to plug into these different ports, and you can connect one to here, and then it goes over to here. And the different ways that you connect it can generate sounds by themselves, like by having various like electrical pulses, like making music or sound generators do something. You can take music, like what Brendan does. He takes my sound from like live recording, like me playing into a microphone or whatever, and then he can manipulate that by plugging my sound into this module. Like the pedals.
It's sort of like Johnny Greenwood's thing, like when they do like Idiotech, like he has like a switchboard panel. He's like plugging in switches. And
it probably is
like
the
Tom York's voice and like.
Oh, I bet it's the exact same thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
So like that's essentially what my group is. And like when we were first starting to work, it's like we didn't know how to do it exactly. And we did try to do a Radiohead cover, actually. Like, and we tried to make it.
I remember that. It was awesome, actually.
It was pretty cool, but like it was like this was fun, but it's really hard to control. And I want it to be like more us. Like we wanted it to be more us, and like so it's like we're just kind of just experimented until we kind of found our sound. So it makes perfect sense what you're talking about. Well, speaking of trombone. Let's go to the metal trombone segment. But if you... but
we need to get a transition.
We do.
For that.
Well, maybe I could just take something from one of these things, one of these videos, and make that the transition tag or something.
Yeah, just like throw a bunch of distortion on like you hitting the highest note that you can hit.
Perfect. So I sent you the sort of like a very, very rough cut of it, just as like us practicing.
So do you have it on here to play?
Yeah, I did a different version of it. It's a little cleaner. It's going to evolve over the next few months.
Good.
But
this will be like a milestone point. Right?
Yeah. And I really wish I had recorded myself trying this solo at the beginning because it was horrendous. It was not good.
I don't doubt it.
But let me play it for you. So I'm going to share the screen so you can see it and all that.
So this is, just so people know, this is Aaron trying to play one of the hardest metal and most famous metal solos known to man, which is the second solo from Mr. Crowley, Ozzy Osbourne, Mr. Crowley, played by Randy Rhoads, which is crazy. So we'll put a link in the thing to that solo. Listen to that first before listening to this next one.
We'll put the recording on the actual podcast too, so they'll... Because that one we don't have to pay for because it's be played.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we'll put that in there. But we will put the link too.
Wow. Okay. All right.
But so this is just the first little bit of it. I'd say probably the first 25 seconds of it, maybe. And each month I'm going to add a little bit more to it. As I learn it and everything. This one took quite a bit because, well, it's freaking hard. So, anyway, here is me playing.
Woo! That's what I'm talking about. Oh!
I'm glad you like it.
Oh man, I'm gonna tell you. I only heard that over like my iPhone like speaker, the first version that you sent me, and I had so little faith that you would be able to pull off anything that was like decent on it. Because I mean, how are you supposed to? It's like it's playing to the strength of a guitar, not to the trombone. So to hit that first part, like I don't even know how are you doing the digga.
So like there's a technique in brass playing. A lot of times people call it lip slurs. I like to call it flexibility because it's less to do with your lips and more. Well, we'll just kind of put that aside. But like basically what I'm doing is like I'm not tonguing like any of those notes except for the first one in that lick. I'm using the trombones.
So like dun, 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 dun,
no,
like
I'm not even doing that. I'm doing. I'm just blowing air from that, but I'm using the trombones like construction to play what are called natural slurs, where I can move the slide in, and because I'm going down, I can get a very clean kind of articulation to it. And I don't have to do anything except for just make sure that I'm blowing the exact right quality of air to move.
See, this is okay. So again, here's something I'm sure everybody else is wondering here. Like when I hear that on the guitar, I was like, there's no way you're going to be able to do that because I don't understand how a trombone works.
Oh, sure.
I was like, what if those 3 notes that he's hitting, the like, what if those are like way different positions or something? I thought you were going to be like flailing about. It'd be dangerous on stage. You know, like those happen to be just right next to each other.
It happened to work with this key and everything. Like if it had been, I don't know, 2 or 3 steps up, it might not have laid pretty well. The only one that's tricky is when he moves to the C major chord. Because it's like that one's the one that lines up the least because I have to go from a sharp 2 to that's like trombone positions. Sharp 2 to flat 3 to 3, or sorry, sharp 2 to flat 2 to 3.
I don't know because what you're talking about.
Well, I'm moving the slide out and the notes are going down. And when I do that, it's harder to get them to lock into place really quickly because it's easier to get like that kind of glissando effect in between where you're sliding between notes. So you have to like move the slide really quickly to get that C, and it's still something I'm working on getting that clean.
Are you going to be able to do that live? Like, do you think?
Yeah, because I'm going to play it
You're
about...
going to have to be cranked. Like,
oh, hell yeah.
Cranked for this.
And that's something we have
stage.
to figure out. Is like, am I playing this a cappella, no microphone? I don't think so.
No.
I think I got to at least be able to play it into a microphone.
Yeah.
Do we put effects going from the microphone into whatever guitar like effects pedals that we want?
I mean, are you going to be running effects on this part or running it clean?
Well, that's the question. Like if I run it from the microphone and then run that through, I don't know, like maybe a delay pedal, maybe a chorus pedal, I don't know.
Yeah, I think if you did a chorus or a delay, and I'm talking not like when you think a delay, when you hit like it's like ding, 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 not like that.
No,
like I'm talking like
tiny amount.
Like a 2 millisecond delay. So it just sounds like 2 things are playing and they're just like that much off naturally. Because that would sound like the Randy Rhoads like sound, you know, where it's just big. You know, but so for that, you would just capture the tone through the mic, and then your mic's running through pedals into the amp, and then the amp is pushing.
I think so. If I do it that way, you get a lot of the natural trombone sound in it, which is fine if that's what we want to go for. And I think would be preferable to doing it the other way, which we could do it, which is I have this device called the silent brass mute.
Oh, right.
Where I can plug that in, I can hook that up to this little preamp thing on my belt, hook that up through whatever pedals I want. But there's a little bit of, it's harder to blow into because there's more resistance there. And you're not really getting the full trombone actual sound in there.
There's no mute in a guitar solo.
No. You
gotta go loud, man.
We can amplify it as much as we want. Like, there's not a problem there. Like, we can get that loud as hell.
Yeah.
But I think for this, I wouldn't want to because I think it would mess with my my deal there.
I think but there might be parts where that might be the way to go.
Oh,
you know?
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Like maybe the boom, boom, boom.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Boom. Like that, I think I would want to do in there because it's going to be a weird kind of sound.
And we're going to put a phaser on it. It's going to be awesome.
Hell
yeah.
Yeah. But I think that one's going to be just into a microphone with maybe some effects, like some small effects pedals.
Yeah, very small. I like the ending of it too, where it's like, I can't even like do it that fast. You know?
Yeah, and that's the other thing with this is like a lot of the times he's doing these like trills like
yeah.
And in certain parts of the trombone, like the higher up I get, I can do those trills. But where that is in an area of the trombone that it's hard to get it clean. And I don't think I'd do it very well. So I'm doing a different technique called triple tonguing, which is me going
triple tonguing. Okay.
Which is me going like that kind of thing. Just to kind of create the illusion that I'm playing a bunch of notes. Well, I am playing a bunch of notes, but like kind of get closer to the sound.
Right.
And then there's that part that right after it, like after it kind of goes back to the beginning of the changes again. In the song, he goes, bye, 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 bye.
Yeah.
And it's like, that definitely gets too low for me to do it. To do like a little trill on it. So I'm doing instead, just to kind of add some flair to it and not go.
Well, that's what this whole thing is about. It's like not making it identical.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, how could you do it with the trombone that plays to the strengths of the trombone, but is true to the music?
Oh, yeah. And that's, I think like doing this process kind of adds credence to what you were talking about earlier in the pod.
You know how sick that's going to be though? Like if we just like have Jim or someone play the first solo or Tim or someone like that. And then like, everyone's expecting them to play it again, but instead you play it.
Oh man, it's going to be
the hardest one.
It's going to be wild. I can't wait to do it.
It's going to go nuts.
We got to do that. We got to do that pause like we were talking about the last time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. Because everybody's going to be like, yeah. Totally. And that'll give, okay. I got some theatrics ideas of that too that I don't want to spoil for the audience.
We'll have to have a meeting. We'll have to have a chat ourselves to talk about this, amongst other things.
Yes. So that's progress, man. That's actually pretty solid.
Yeah, it's getting there.
I'm stoked.
It's getting there.
10 times better than I thought it was going to be, and we aren't even all the way there yet. So.
Yeah, I just this part in particular took a while because I had to really work up my lip slur kind of stuff, my chops. Flexibility thing, and the triple tonguing.
So does this need to be like an early set thing?
No, it's not. It's not a. Well, this is going to be the first one on the show because we got the fall. We've already planned that out.
True. I mean, although you could do like this cool like mid-set like lights go down. What's going on? Are they done? No, wait. This like small lights on and the fog's rolling in. This is going to be epic. You know.
We'll see. Like I'm going to be doing this on some smaller equipment, which is going to help with this. But it's not super taxing, but it is taxing somewhat.
Yeah. Not for me.
Oh yeah, you just,
I'll be fine. So let's talk a little bit. We texted a little bit about our pedalocalypse.
Oh hell yeah!
Because I think that's one thing we need to do an episode on this, and we're gonna do. This will be a live episode.
Oh, a live show!
A live show. Well, in person, I guess. People might think we're in person this whole time, but we really aren't. We're
we can stream it onto like YouTube or.
We can put it on my Twitch channel. Yes.
Okay. Hell yeah, let's put it on your Twitch channel. So like,
let's put it on my Twitch channel.
How many followers you got on Twitch?
I don't know, like probably like 50.
Hey man, that's some big numbers.
And 2 subs. We live stream it. And the episode is we have all these guitar pedals and we have a trombone and we have a big amp and we figure out how to use them with the trombone. Like we kind of know, like we both know what different pedals do, but like the experimenting of like, does this sound good? Does this sound good?
Oh,
I think that could be a pretty fun episode.
And I think probably likely be on the Monday or Tuesday of that week that we're down there. That'll be good experimentation for me to kind of figure out the sound, especially with the trained ear.
We got to do it for the first rehearsal, so we know what's happening. Yeah.
Oh, sure. But no, I'm excited.
It'd be funny too because a lot of people at the show won't even know what is going on. Like they'll be like seeing the flyer and be like, "Oh, it's Arts Walk. Let's go to the metal show, right?" And then they'll see like this big like pedal set up in the front of the stage, which is pretty standard, but the pedals aren't for the guitar. It's for a freaking trombone.
It's gonna be wild. Oh my gosh.
Yes. It's going to be the weirdest thing ever. It could be up there in the top weird things at Arts Walk, which is quite the accomplishment.
I've been trying to explain what Arts Walk is to Peter and Brendan and Kate. And I can't adequately explain.
Kate's never been.
No, she's never been. She's super excited. She's going to be joining us.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be hilarious.
But I'm trying to describe what the procession of the species is. I'm like, it's kind of like a parade, but everybody kind of makes their own thing. And there's like not people that are like having official entries or anything. They just kind of march down the streets. And
what is it? It's like earth, fire, wind, water.
Yeah,
or
it's
something.
like
yeah, in that order.
So I can't wait for them to see that. Because
it's gonna be
that
great.
is Olympia to a T right there.
Oh yeah, there's no more Olympia weekend than Arts Walk, so that's gonna be exciting.
Well, Brian, we did it again. I think we recorded an hour and 5 minutes of audio.
We've gone through 1,821 bars. So
yeah, that's about where I'm at too on my recorder.
So the update on the concert, I do have one sad thing to share with the audience. Is that it is not looking like Power Castle is going to be able to play the show.
That's too bad.
I am heartbroken about this, but it makes sense. Tim is in a big band called Christian Mistress, and they're doing like a tour across the states and coming back. And it's just, I don't think we would have had enough time to do it. Like, I just don't think we would have been. But I'm trying, and this is like, if they're even listening to this, which I doubt it, but if we can get Bacchus, this would be even a better show.
Do you know the people in Bacchus?
Yes. So Brian McCoy in Gunslinger is younger brother of Sean McCoy, who is the bassist in Bacchus. And then obviously they're old friends of ours. Like we used to play shows with Power Castle and Bacchus all the time.
All right.
Back in the day, Jeff Gallagher, and they're like doing like a revival essentially. Like, and so the timing's perfect. They're like my favorite band. Like it'd be so cool to get them. So I think we should, when we talk to Jim here in a second, like ask him if he would try to get Bacchus.
Well, yeah, let's get on that because we need to get this scheduled and everything.
I think we should give Jim a call.
Like right now?
Yeah, let's give him a call.
Let's see.
What are you doing? I've already called him, Aaron. I'm doing the lead-in.
Oh my God.
Oh, geez.
I thought you meant
You're supposed to go, yeah, that'd be great. Then we get the phone sound, and then boom, Jim's there, and it's like, well, hey, Jim, we're just giving you a call from the Brothers and Horns podcast. We're in the studio, and now we can't.
Well, the start of that. The start of that was like
3 weeks ago when we talked to him.
Well, the start of that was like, hey, man, you're our first interview on the Brothers and Horns. Like, how do we? Like, it wouldn't have made sense with how that interview.
Because we could have just led right into it.
Well, we can still do it. Like, nobody's listening to us now.
No, now it's just inauthentic.
No, it doesn't work.
It's just ruined. I think this whole thing is ruined.
It's stupid.
Cade, do not cut this out. This needs to be documented. We do need to go into our call with Jim, which, okay, we called him like 3 weeks ago. But so everybody knows, but we're going to go into that call with Jim so people could hear. There's a lot of great insight on it. Jim's a good guy.
We apologize for this episode being like an hour and a half long.
Just give us 5 stars this time, not 6. Because that was a poor effort.
We'll take the demotion. We'll get the 5 stars instead of the 6.
Maybe just a good review, not an amazing review.
And good is still 5 out of 5. That's
5 out of 5. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, for our standards.
Yeah, of course. We hold the highest of standards here at Brothers and Horns.
So rate us, give us the stars, and we will see you guys next time.
So throw your horns up.
We're all on the record here. How many episodes of the podcast have you listened to, and how many times have you given us 5 stars?
I haven't listened to it yet.
Oh my God! Are you kidding? Your first guest?
The first guest.
What the heck?
Worst guest.
I'm just trying to keep an open mind.
Oh
I
my
didn't want
God,
to preconceptions or anything. Come on.
You know, you said this. You were wondering why I was bagging on guitarists last time. All show. There's no team in it. Like, oh, this is off to a bad start already.
Guitarists are just here to play solos and look pretty, man. That's really all that matters.
Well, I'm glad that we can do one of those things. Anyways, Aaron, do you want to introduce our guest?
This is a very old friend of mine. I've known this man since, I think, 1996, perhaps? Way back when.
Sounds about right.
When we were in the band together. Jim Farley, still current trombonist? Question mark.
Actually, I haven't touched my trombone in a long time.
That's probably for the best. I don't recommend it to everybody. Jim Farley is an engineer. That's how he makes his money. He is a guitarist. He is a vocalist. He's in at least 2 bands that I know of. One of them being Gunslinger, the band that is going to back us up. Jim Farley, everyone. Say hello.
Woo! Sound
How's it going,
effect.
guys? Thank you for having me.
What's your other band, Jim? What's your other band?
The other band I'm in is called The Common Thread, and that is actually a band that I'm playing bass in. And that's kind of a blues rock. I liken it to like Dave Matthews and Tom Petty and that type of stuff. It's guitar, bass, vocals, and violin, so it's a pretty interesting band.
Oh, violin.
You need that very right side of the bass guitar. That's great.
Yep. And before I was doing that, I was playing in my in-between time between Gunslinger going on hiatus and starting to play with The Common Thread. I was playing with another metal band in Auburn called Point Zero, and that was my first dipping my toes into playing bass, and I was playing bass and doing lead vocals for that band. But COVID put a quick end to that band, and unfortunately everybody else has moved elsewhere and kind of scattered to the winds, so that band is officially defunct.
Fair enough. So, Jim, tell us about like kind of your musical influences and kind of your story about how you ended up kind of being in the Olympia scene, and maybe give us your impression of the Olympia music scene.
Well, starting with musical influences, listeners may not know this, but Aaron and I played in jazz band together through middle school and high school. And so playing jazz was my first introduction to playing solos, my first introduction to improvisation of any kind. And when I was 15, 16, somewhere in that ballpark, I was really into Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, Pink Floyd, a lot of the typical classic rock influences that teenagers go through. But that was about the same time where I started thinking, I'm probably not going to go to school for music. I'm probably not going to be a professional musician. So I want to find a way to be able to play any kind of music and be able to play, rock music as well. And so that's when I grabbed an acoustic guitar and started trying to learn. And I taught myself how to play largely. There were a few things that I learned from other people, but the basics of where to put your fingers and how to strum and how to pick individual notes out, that was all stuff that I just kind of figured out on my own.
Completely self-taught? You never taken a lesson?
No, I mean, I don't think I took a lesson until I was in my early 20s.
Interesting.
And it was just, I was thinking, what was going through my head was like, hey, I'm a trombone player. I know the music theory. I know how to read sheet music. Let's just figure out the actual technique of playing the guitar. And the musical side of it, I felt like I could figure the rest of it out because I know how to read music. I'm a musician. And so, since then, I've reached out to people and asked for lessons here and there and tried to improve on things. And I keep going back to my old, practice techniques of, making sure that you practice your scales, know your chords, and make sure that you are paying attention to the rhythm, be a part of the band. Don't just be a musician who plays with the band, or don't just be a guitar player who plays with the band, be a musician. Try and fit in with the rest of the band. That's something that I always keep in the back of my head. So then when it comes to playing guitar, I got really into not just rock, but blues as well. Stevie Ray Vaughan is another, hero of mine, listening to all the stuff that he played. Unfortunately, he died before I ever really got into playing music, but still, a huge influence on me listening to the solo stuff that he did. And then right around middle to the end of high school, I started also getting into heavy metal. Our mutual friend, Zach Palmer, was a good friend of mine, and he was not paying attention to the radio music at all. He was going on the internet and finding music to listen to. So I kept getting, emails from him going, listen to this, listen to this, listen to this. And then he would start giving me CDs. Here, borrow this from me, check this out. And so I started getting into metal, and very much so into the melodic side of metal, Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, and other bands primarily bands from Europe, because I was under the impression at the time that American bands were the grunting and growling type of metal, and European bands were the melodic musical type of metal. So that's kind of where I gravitated, probably because I had been an orchestral musician first. I wanted to play, loud and fast metal, but still have it be musical or melodic. So that's kind of the direction that I went, and got an electric guitar and tried to figure out how to make it louder and bigger. And after I graduated from high school, I played in a college jazz band for a little bit, but it was at St. Martin's, so it was a pretty small time program, and nobody was taking it seriously. So I said, screw this, I'm out. And that's when I started focusing on metal, was after I graduated from college, and started up Gunslinger within a year and a half of being done with grad school. So that was 23, 24 years old. And that's what I've been trying to do ever since, is try and get on stage as often as I can, and try and play metal as often as I can.
Oh, damn. I didn't know that you've been doing that. Been with Gunslinger for 15 years, man. That's a long time.
Gunslinger's been on hiatus for 6, almost 7 years.
Oh, shit.
So, yeah. So I'm excited to get it all back together again.
Oh, that's awesome.
Are the other guys sharing in your enthusiasm, or have you even talked to them?
They are very enthusiastic about it. Brian has been poking and prodding me for, actually since COVID started, he's been poking and prodding me to get my act together and actually start, getting ready to record again. And then Matt, who was our last bass player, is probably going to become our third guitar player now. He has recently stopped doing the day job thing, and his day job is now his own private business of building and repairing guitars. And he also has a podcast and a recording studio that he's running out of his house. So music is his life right now. And when I told him that we were going to try and get Gunslinger together, he's absolutely on board. Simon, who's our drummer, before COVID happened, he had an unfortunate construction mishap that he fell off a ladder at work and broke both of his wrists. And was not sure if he was ever going to be able to actually play drums again. And since he has, had a good recovery, the doctors have given him good news and told him, go ahead and take it slow, but keep practicing and get back to playing music. So he is very gung-ho about playing again.
That's awesome.
And then when I mentioned to Zach that I wanted him to play bass for Gunslinger, he was like, okay, sure, I'm on board. And
we got Zach Palmer on board too?
Yep.
Wait. You're bringing in another bassist? What the hell am I going to do? Is this going to be 2 bassists?
Well, so that was something that we were wondering was this going to be a performance of Gunslinger with guest bassist Brian Wilson and, Aaron Wilson on trombone, or is this going to be, we have a mix of different musicians from different bands to play the trombone piece, and then also Gunslinger and Power Castle we're going to be at the same show. I guess that's the
I think we're leaning towards the 2 different projects. Like, one is like I think it'd be great to play a full show where Gunslinger was also on the bill, but then have Gunslinger sort of as the backing band for the Brothers and Horns experiment, what we're doing here. And I think the Brothers and Horns will, and correct me if I'm wrong here, will take kind of many forms depending on where we perform. So it could get weird. It could get super weird.
It will definitely get super weird. This whole thing is very strange that we're doing. But I figured that for the Brothers and Horns set, we'd probably be the opening. No, there's no problem about it. We will be the opening act because I don't know how it's going to go.
We want as small of an audience as possible.
But
although people might be way too sober for it, like they'll be like, "What is going on?" If they had like 3 or 4 beers in them, then like it might start making more sense.
well, maybe we could do the breathalyzer on the way in, and if they are below 0.08, we don't let them in.
Well, they don't let people into McCoys that are below 0.08 anyways. So
There you go.
Yeah, it's a 2-drink minimum to get to that place.
At least we're gonna need you to slam these 2 beers in the alleyway behind before you come in, sir.
That's very important.
Well, Brian, to answer your question, when I mentioned the Brothers and Horns part of this project to Zach, he immediately said, "Oh, so Brian's going to play bass on that part." So for the trombone part of the show, then Brian, you are definitely the bass player.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so we'll for the Brothers and Horns portion, depending on the song, the trombone is going to be in one roll here, one roll there. It's going to be different kind of things. Sometimes I'm going to be kind of playing guitar solos. Sometimes I might be playing the vocal parts on trombone. Sometimes I might be playing a synthesizer part or something. Who knows? Depends on what we choose here. So there will be some members coming in for a little bit and then sitting out for a song or whatever. So there's a little bit of flexibility.
Sure.
I like the idea of fun. I like the idea of 3 guitars though. Like we're doing like some modern Maiden kind of like lineup going on here.
Yeah, that was the exact idea, because our last bass player was this guy, Matt Ackerman, and he is one of the best guitar players I've ever played with. The only time I've ever played with him, though, he didn't play guitar; he played bass. And so when we started talking about getting Gunslinger back on its feet, it was like, well, how can we not have Matt play guitar? It'd be kind of doing ourselves a disservice to not have him be, doing lead guitar alongside me. And then it's advantageous that Zach Palmer has moved back to Olympia in the last couple of years. So now that he's around, and I've been trying to get him to play bass for me for a long time, but now that he's in town, I think it's actually going to happen.
Oh, I can't wait to see him. I I hope I get to play with him a little bit. No offense, Brian. But I do hope I get to play with Zach.
Jesus Christ.
He's an old friend of mine.
Sure. All right. I'll take a song off.
Because I'm not as well versed in this as either of you. Is there any metal group with 2 bass players in it?
I don't think I've ever seen it, but I have seen metal bands
Spinal
with 2
Tap.
drummers.
Spinal Tap.
Oh, I'd do a Spinal Tap cover.
That's not a bad idea.
We'll do Stonehenge, and we'll get the replica to drop down. It's actually not a bad segue into talking about what we want to play for this damn thing. Brian and I have a couple of ideas floating around, but like nothing's in cement yet. But we are thinking of doing The Wizard with Black Sabbath. Just because I figure that'd be an easy one to put together, and I could play the harmonica part on the trombone. I think that'd be pretty cool, and could open it up to some solos, and just a nice kind of bluesy kind of number. And then we're also thinking, and the other one that's kind of a lock in there is Mr. Crowley.
Okay, cool.
And I'm working on the introduction, which I'm going to kind of record all on trombones and have like the effects on it. So we play that while I play the bwom, 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 that part. And I'm also working on the second Randy Rhoads solo, the one right at the end, that one, which is coming along pretty well, actually, surprisingly well.
Okay, cool.
I cannot wait to hear that. Are you going to have that on this episode?
I'm going to have the prototype of it. I don't think it'll be all the way. I don't think it'll be all the way there yet, but like I've gotten a lot better at the lip trills. I can tell you that because of it. Like, I'm doing a lot better with that. So it's been real good.
And then you guys had talked to me at some point behind the scenes about playing some Queensryche as well. So
yeah, potentially some Queensryche.
Yeah, but
have you guys landed on a song for that one yet?
That might be our next episode, maybe, or The Wizard might be our next episode. We haven't figured this out yet because we're totally underprepared for every single episode. But I thought it'd be kind of cool just because it's like, local metal, and Queen of the Reich's such a cool song. Either that or something like Revolution Calling or something like sick from the Mindcrime album. Could be kind of neat. And then something I was thinking too, like with Brian playing, it'd be sick to do like a Yasmin cover, like an old school. Have you ever heard Yasmin? Like the old?
I have. Yes, I have those recordings on my computer.
I would not be singing in it, sadly.
Well, you got to recreate that recording. Come on.
Oh my God, that was awful. I think it'd be pretty cool to do like an old school throwback, like Silent Highwayman or something like that. So,
well, what about doing Fist of Metal?
Fist of Metal, we could do Fist of Metal. Or the Gun or whatever. I don't know. I'd have to relearn the songs. Who knows?
You'll have to send those to me so I can kind of see what might work with trombone on it.
You have to have Jim send them to you because I don't even think I have them. So
yeah, I'll email them to you. I've got the recordings. Brian McCoy gave them to me. So
nice.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Like, I guess we're aiming for about a 45-minute set or something around there.
Yeah, maybe like half hour to 40 minutes, somewhere around there. Sounds good.
Yeah, it's usually what you aim for because when you're on stage, there's sometimes there's sound issues, sometimes there's issues of switching musicians in between songs, and if you plan for 30 to 35 minutes, it ends up being 45 minutes of actual time.
Oh, sure.
This is gonna be so choreographed, though. It's gonna be this is gonna be like a maiden show. Like that's if I could bring anything to this, it's gonna be the like stage antic bullshit that like. It takes zero talent, but it's like amazing to look at.
I mean, that's part of the
who are you gonna get to dress up as Eddie then?
As Eddie? I don't know. I might have
or Aaron.
Aaron,
if you dress up as Eddie and play trombone as Eddie, that might be pretty awesome.
Well, I'll have to do like the dollar store version of Eddie. I don't know.
Well, of course.
I like it. Yeah, that's another one. We were thinking of maybe doing like Moonchild or something.
That would be cool.
Yeah. I think it'd be pretty fun, and it'd give Aaron a kind of a couple different options that are different from the other songs to incorporate the trombone into.
For sure.
Yeah, the stuff from Seventh Son of Seventh Son doesn't really get covered very much. When it comes to bands going, we're going to play a Maiden song. That album is never on the list.
Which is unfortunate because it's their best
really
album.
Good.
It's a fantastic album.
That's our first episode. If you had ever listened to our podcast,
Yeah,
which
if
you
you've
haven't,
done your homework and listened to the first two episodes.
It's kind of embarrassing that you didn't know that. But anyways, let's move on.
So
tell me, who was your favorite Olympia band growing up, and why was it Power Castle?
It was definitely Power Castle because, well, actually, I'm going to back up one. It wasn't just Power Castle. It was, it was something Symphony, Militant Symphony.
Militant Symphony.
So I think it was after you had left for college, Brian, that Zach started playing with the remnants of Power Castle, and they became Militant Symphony. So that was something that was my first memory of going to see an Olympia metal show. I had unfortunately missed you on stage, Brian, but I had definitely seen Power Castle or some form of it.
So is there still like a metal scene in Olympia right now? Like, there still
very much so? Yes.
Okay.
So the two big places to catch a metal show are going to be McCoy's Tavern, of course, and then across the street is the Cryptotropa bar, or what people call the Crypt for short. So those are the two places where you're most likely going to see a metal show. Sometimes a metal and or punk show will pop up at the Eastside Tavern, but that doesn't happen very often.
So we're thinking of like Arts Walk weekend, right? That's going to be a lot of people in town. There's a lot of weird stuff that happens during Arts Walk anyways, for the folks that may be listening that don't know. So I think we would like slot in real nice there. We're thinking maybe, a typical metal venue, like lineup of like Brothers in Horns, Gunslinger retake, and then Power Castle, who's already like playing some shows recently anyways in a different like kind of lineup. So I'd slot in there. But like, I don't know. I think there's a possibility that we could maybe do like another performance like out on the street in front of like Bob's shop. Like
that would be fantastic.
Are you talking about doing
the Brothers and Horns part? Yeah.
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 I think it'd be super weird and like people would be into it.
And Bob would be on board with it too.
100%.
Well, until he kicks you out and makes you play in the gazebo.
Yes. Hopefully that wouldn't happen again. But
so you're thinking we do like the show, like one of the shows on Friday, like maybe, I don't know, what day are you thinking for the show? Friday or Saturday of Arts Walk?
I mean, Friday is always like a big party because people get off of work and then they just like want to go crazy. The like parade and stuff happens on the other weekend. So I think maybe a Friday. It's going to be hard because like this is kind of an unorthodox show, and these venues want to make money, and so I don't know if they'd even be down to do a lineup like this. And if not, then we'd have to like kind of like figure out an alternative for it, which is fine. Maybe even a different weekend. We haven't booked our tickets or anything yet. So
hey, let's be honest. If Tim Dietrich walks into a bar and says, "I want to play a Power Castle show," that's all he needs to say, and it's going to happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll hope so. We'll see.
Oh, we should try to. So, Brian, you want to like call somebody or something in the next?
Yeah, I can get Tim to check in. I haven't even gotten confirmed with Tim because he's doing Christian Mistress next month. Like, and they're playing down in Texas, and I think they're playing some like California shows too. So I got to make sure that he's actually in town for that. But if so, then he'll be down for it for sure.
April 28th. Oh, go ahead, Jim.
Oh, I was going to say, I bumped into Tim last night at the grocery store and told him that something was cooking. And he was like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it.
Yeah, perfect. Sounds good. Yeah. And I think we might even do like a recording that week too with Power Castle to accompany the 2 CDs that came out. So it could be timely. The synergy is there. I like it.
Yes.
So let's talk about some of the nitty gritty. Aaron's asked me in the past, like, he's like, Aaron, obviously as a professional musician, organizes he plays 1 million shows a year, teaches kids and students how to play and directs them and stuff. But he was asking me, like, what does it take to get like a metal show? What do you do to prepare a metal show? And it's completely different, obviously, in some ways, because it's way less organized. There's probably a lot more like beer consumed in the process of it.
Don't go too far.
I don't. You should
see some of these trombone festivals, man. There's a lot of beer drunk at a trombone festival.
Oh my god!
Even more at a tuba festival.
So there's a lot though that we have to figure out, like practice space. Yeah, we talked a little bit about the venue, composition of like with like people that aren't necessarily like classically trained. We all speak a different language. Like anytime you start adding different people into the mix, and like, the culture is different in the rehearsal. So let's just start with like practice space. Like, is there a place where bands are practicing? Back in my day, we were all practicing on the at the Sureguard on the west side, like in storage units, and getting in trouble for it. Where did Gunslinger rehearse?
We used to rehearse in my garage, which unfortunately is filled with crap right now. But yeah, we would always, rehearse in my garage, and we would try and do it on Saturday or Sunday midday so that we didn't piss off the neighbors too much. And I actually had neighbors across the street next door that used to, catch us after we were done practicing and tell us, "Oh, hey man, you guys sound great. I turned off my radio and listened to you guys instead." A lot of people were actually on board with it. But as far as like practice spaces, we might have to look into, reaching out to SOGO Contacts, which is the student orchestras at Greater Olympia, and see if we can find, one of the band directors to help us out and open up a practice space for us.
Yeah. Well, I could ask Greg about it. Like, he might be able to point us in a direction.
I mean, it's kind of the sadist in me, though, that wants to like force Jim to clean out his garage so we can rehearse there. Like, that's your penance.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, that would take some doing, but I've got time to do it.
So if we get the practice space there, like, think logistically here. Like, what does it take to get a metal show going? Like, in Aaron's world, they got rehearsals, or like this is part of their class or something, and it's like working up to it. Like, for a band, like, it's inconsistent, and it takes a lot of like rehearsing to, like, sometimes about a show 3 or 4 months in advance before your first show, and like you got to just rehearse. Like, we're trying to pull this off in like 1 week essentially. Like,
right. Yes.
What's that rehearsal week gonna look like? Like, can we pull it off in like 2 or 3 days? I mean, I don't know.
I've
never done it.
with our group of musicians that we're talking about, we all have enough performance experience. We all have enough preparation experience that we should be able to do one good long rehearsal, do a 2 or 3 hour rehearsal and go through all the songs 2 or 3 times and just nail everything down and figure out, kind of learn by doing, figure it out as we go. I think we'll be able to accomplish that. And, it's something that I know, Brian, I get what you're saying, that some bands it's like, hey, let's get drunk and then maybe some music will happen at the same time. That's how a lot of metal bands practice. But I have never practiced that way. I've always tried to be the one that cracks the whip when I'm in a metal band rehearsal. I'm always like, guys, what songs are we practicing today? How much time we got? Let's get this figured out. Let's work on it right now. We screwed that up. Let's do it again, do it again, do it again. So I do personally come at a metal preparation or metal performance the same way I would have for a jazz band performance back in high school.
Well, I mean, Jim, it is in my rider that I need at least a 12-pack provided to me before the rehearsal. So, I mean, you're going to have to talk to my agent about this if you're wanting to run a ship like that. So,
well, the proper terminology, Aaron, is if it's Rainier, a 12-pack Rainier is referred to as a Seattle briefcase.
There is just as a little sidebar here. There is one place in Manitoba, all of Manitoba, that I can get Rainier beer, and it's in this tiny. It's in a Home Hardware in Onanol, Manitoba.
In a hardware store?
In a hardware store that's also a liquor store. That's also a small grocery store. It's right near Clear Lake where a bunch of people go camping and whatnot. But for some odd reason, they sell Rainier beer. So whenever I go up there, I always pick up a pack. Or if somebody's going up there, like, oh, you gotta stop at Home Hardware and get me some Rainier beer. But yeah, it's just so bizarre. No other place sells it in all of Manitoba that I've ever heard of.
So what you're saying is they're marketing geniuses.
Of course. Well, at least they got me hooked, and they still sell it, so somebody must buy it. But yeah, like for the rehearsals, I wouldn't mind, just because with the trombone stuff, there's going to be a lot of technical junk that we got to figure out. And I'm going to hope to have most of it kind of squared away before I get there. But with different equipment, like because I'll have to rent like an amp probably. I'll have to do a couple things because I'm using pedals on this. I got all sorts of different things that I'm using. Mm-hmm. Do you think it would be possible to do like a rehearsal early in the week and then like a rehearsal on like a Thursday or something?
Yeah, I think so. I think that would definitely be doable. It shouldn't be hard to get everybody together around 6 o'clock and practice for a couple hours.
Yeah.
I will say, since you guys are both going to be traveling to Olympia for this, don't worry about having to rent any equipment. Just ask around. I'm sure somebody that we know will have the stuff. Brian, if you want, I have a GK bass stack that you can borrow from. And Aaron, if you need, depending on what kind of frequency range you need for an amp for your trombone, we can definitely figure out how to get our hands on it.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
I was thinking that we could combine your GK stack with Zach's stack, and then that's what I'll play through both.
Okay, that sounds good. Awesome. Then you're going to sit on top of the whole bass stack while you're playing it.
I'm going to jump off of it. So.
That is
I can't wait to see 40-year-old Brian jump off one of those things and go, oh, my back.
I'm training. I've been training for months now for this.
Rocky Forest style?
Jumping off the roof onto a stack.
I got to get back in concert shape. But, I mean, it would be a foreign thing to like stand still and play a show. Like, I don't know if you've been to any, like you hadn't, I don't know. We moved around a lot, like to a dangerous amount when we played. So yeah, you like watch out, get out of my way when we're on stage. That's gonna be the first thing you learn. Just stand to the side. let the rhythm section up front. All right.
Brian's gonna be throwing elbows and moshing with the rest of the band members.
I'm just gonna like move your your mic stand to the corner so you're stuck over there. So how does that work too? Like Brian seems to be, from what I've seen in Gunslinger and Listen, he seems to be the primary singer, but you guys do a little tag teaming as well.
Correct.
Tell us about your approach there, because these songs that we're choosing, they're not easy. There's a wide range. So how do you think you're going to approach that?
Well, I think the main approach had always been, when it was just me and Brian playing guitar, was that I was a better guitar player than I was a singer. He was a better singer than he was a guitar player. So we had kind of decided from the very beginning that Brian was going to be doing as much of the lead singing as he could, and that I would, vocalize or harmonize with him, or do falsettos, or, do things to kind of add color to the vocals, because I wanted to be able to focus on playing guitar and making sure that the rhythms sounded the best they could, and making sure that the solos sounded the best they could. And with Matt now joining us playing guitar, we have the opportunity to, every once in a while, maybe I could put my guitar down and just sing while Matt and Brian play guitar, or Brian can set his guitar down and just sing while the two of us are playing guitar. So we're that's the biggest reason why we're doing a 3 guitar setup going forward, is that there will be some times where we actually want all 3 of us playing guitar, but there will be other times where we want to have either myself or Brian be able to focus on singing. So we'll set a guitar down and make it sound as best we can.
So if we're
I think that's going to be our biggest challenge. Is I don't have any concern about the band learning the songs, but composition. And I think the way to approach it would be just like, you guys take these songs and pretend like you're just going to play by yourselves, and then we'll slot in, because Aaron's going to, he hasn't even figured it out of like where he's going to play in any of the pieces. And then we'll just sort of like take some notes, know about a month before, what Aaron's going to do.
Yeah.
And then we'll just kind of figure it out from there. And so when we walk into that first rehearsal, like, we should all be we could probably play through the set on the first go without any trouble. So
Yeah, that would be fun. That'd be a lot of fun.
in fact, that would actually be a cool thing to record. Like, all right, this is the first time we're all like plugging in together. Let's just play the set. Like, just go.
We can certainly
through
put
it.
that together. Yeah.
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 And
I'll have video cameras for documentation of all the other shit that I'm doing that week anyway. So we can definitely get that. And Brendan and Peter, who are my collaborators on this Canada Council project, Jim, they'll probably be sitting in on the rehearsal too. They won't be playing, but they'll just be kind of hanging
Sick.
out. So,
Okay. Do they have a writer for a 12-pack each also?
certainly Brendan does. Certainly Brendan does. Peter will require at least 3 bottles of wine. So
That's comparable. That's fair.
Going to the wrong venue.
well, he's got that. I think he's got celiac, so he can't have any wheat, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, right.
so he just has wine instead.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I think we got what we need for this call too, and we got some, homework ahead of us. Is Gunslinger going to start practicing soon,
We are.
or
Yeah.
nice.
Awesome.
That's the thing we're trying to figure out right now, is where are we going to find practice space for ourselves. So
We got to
Perfect,
clean out
yeah.
that garage.
figure it out and we'll start.
Yeah,
I know,
clean
I
the
gotta-
garage, man. Jeez, what are you doing? It's embarrassing.
Honestly, I might have to get a storage unit and move everything. So we'll see how it goes.
Let's just record out of the storage unit,
There you
man.
go. Then you
That's
don't
a
have to
quicker
clean the
route.
garage. We just go into the storage unit. Yeah.
Sureguard, the back one in the back corner. That's one that Power Council used to practice in. It was sick. There were like 4 metal bands. Like, I don't know if you remember like the Horde of Evil back in the day, with like Ryan McLean and Case and all them. Like, they were out there. It was just like a party. Like, Black Arm was out there with his band, and it was a mess. Like, we'd always would like blow the power to it, because obviously that each of them have like one like 120 outlet, and we're all plugging into it. Essentially, it's like the sign
Plug 4
power
amps
is
into
going
it.
out and stuff. Yeah, it was not good. Let's do it. All right,
All right.
cool. Anything else?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Jim, thanks for chatting with us, man.
Absolutely, guys. Yeah. Thanks
for
inviting
being
me to be
the
a part of
first
it.
guest on the podcast. You should probably go listen to the other episodes now
Yeah,
and
I
give
will
us
definitely
6
do that.
stars.
And not thank you for being the worst guest for not doing your homework. So
Yes.
Well, the good news is that since I'm the first guest, that means that you got lots of opportunities for other guests to be better than me.
It's only up from here.
It really
I'm
is.
I'm holding the bar low for whoever comes after me. That's all.
Right. And you know, on a side note too, this is part of like a grant as well. So document anything you can, like first time Gunslinger's coming back, snap a photo of the guys or something like that. So we can
and we can put on the
Aaron's
Instagram
doing.
and all that.
Yeah, we got an Instagram.
Yep.
It's got like 7 followers, man. It's a big deal, okay? 7.
Yeah, we've got a Facebook page for Gunslinger, and I think we've got a whopping 200 people to follow that. So
hey, man,
damn, 200.
We'll definitely start getting that going again.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
All right, man.
Talk to you guys later.
Right.
Yep.
See you. The Brothers in Horns podcast is produced by the Wilson Brothers. Our editor is Cade Zacharias. Thank you to the band Power Castle for providing our intro and outro music. Thank you also to Grant Hamilton for designing our amazing logo. Check out the episode's show notes for links to the music we discussed today. Our podcast is on all major platforms, and we'll be releasing episodes the first week of every month. Lastly, be sure to follow us on Instagram and YouTube for additional content, both under the name Brothers in Horns.